Hey up and welcome to the Bingley Wheeler Garage. Now if you're new to this channel, please would you consider subscribing, and that way you can get regular updates on the motorcycle related content that I post on this here channel, which has an emphasis upon appealing to, shall we say, the more mature motorcycle rider. So whether you're a long-term years served in the saddle motorcyclist, or whether you were motorcycling in your youth and have had a substantial break and come back, or whether indeed you're considering in later life taking up motorcycling, taking your test and getting yourself a pair of motorised wheels, then this video's for you and this channel's for you. So let's crack on. So you can see I'm fairly mature in years. In fact, last month I turned 63 years of age, and I've been riding motorcycles most of my adult life. Now you may well be in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, dare I say 90s, and you might either be considering taking up motorcycling for the very first time, or you may be returning to motorcycling after quite a few years of absence. Or indeed, you might be a time served in the saddle motorcyclist like myself, and you just need reminding from time to time why you shouldn't hang your boots up just yet. Whichever of those categories you fall into, this video is going to be for you. So stick around. I'm going to give you the top 5 tips from my point of view if you are either a new motorcyclist in mature years, or if you're in mature years and you're returning to motorcycling after quite an absence. So stick around. Right, so you might be asking yourself, and with some justification it has to be said, is it a good idea to take up a pastime, a pursuit which relies upon being in a good physical condition, having good physical coordination, having good mental acuity and reasonable reactions? Should you be taking up that sort of pursuit at a time of life when all of those qualities tend to be on the decline? It's a fair question, but the answer is hell yes, you should. And I'll go on to explain why that is, but it's about the balance of risks and the degree to which any risk taken in riding motorcycles, and let's face it, all of life and living involves risk, the degree to which that, shall we say, is eclipsed by the mental health and welfare benefits of being out in the big wide world on your motorbike. So let's talk about that for a bit longer. So I retired some years ago after 30 years as a police officer here in the United Kingdom. And what I can tell you is that about 12 to 18 months into that retirement, I started to spiral down rapidly. Having done all the things promised over a 30-year profession, all the additions, improvements, extensions and what have you to the house, paying off the mortgage and all the rest of it, I was left wondering, what on earth do I do now? And I had my brand new shiny BMW K1600 GTL in this very garage, and there it sat unused for way too many days. And I was content then, just for time to time, to come in here, look at the bike and pat myself on the back regarding what I'd achieved in terms of material acquisition. But that's no measure of success, and it's no measure of happiness. And what I quickly realised is that I needed to get out and about in the fresh air, in the countryside, which isn't a million miles from here, and actually start living a life. And there's no better way to do it than on 2 wheels. Doing it in a car just doesn't hack it for me at all. There's nothing like being in communion with a 2-wheel machine, cutting your way through the landscapes of this glorious land of ours. So yeah, that is therapy for the soul. It's the best medication that you can get, the best thing that you can do for your mental health and well-being and general welfare. So that's why, if you are considering getting back into motorcycling or starting motorcycling in later life, or if, like me, you're a seasoned motorcyclist but you just need reminding why it's important to keep riding, then I'm going to give some top tips to help you get on your way. And yeah, five things that you really need to consider, particularly if you're new to motorcyclists. So let's crack on with them, eh?
Right then, so while we're on the subject of being out and about on your motorcycle in the landscape being good for your mental health and overall well-being, let's cover my top 5 tips while we're out and about in the landscape on a motorcycle. Now, this bike I'm on here is the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450, which I recently borrowed from Appleyard Motorcycles in Keighley, a fantastic dealership. And if you're looking for your first bike or your first bike in a while and you're in this neck of the woods, get yourselves up to Appleyards in Keighley. I guarantee you there'll be something there for you without a doubt, and the staff are absolutely brilliant. But this is the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. It's a cracking bike. It's the perfect first bike for a while, and 450cc's, plenty of grunt for its size, very, very manageable and very affordable. So one for your consideration for sure. Now, in relation to the first tip, which is getting the right bike, I've divided this into 3 basic areas. Now, if you're like me, you're in danger of going into the showroom at your local dealership and being subjected to sensory overload. Hey, you'll be wanting to take home every bike in the dealership, but take a deep breath, come back down to earth, and just consider exactly what it is you A, want, B, need, and C, will work for you. Now, you might like the appeal of modern classic motorcycles like the 4 I have, and names from the past like BSA and Royal Enfield, Triumph. They might strike a chord with you if you motorcycled in your youth, or you might prefer something a little bit more modern with some electronics to make life easier and arguably a bit safer. But either way, I'd suggest looking at 3 key things within this category. First of all, the size of the bike. Now, comfort is everything at our time of life. It don't matter how good the bike is, if it's not comfortable after a mile or two or after an hour or two in the saddle, you're really going to fall out with it rapidly. So try first for fit, just like trying a pair of shoes on in a shoe shop. Get yourself to a dealership, make sure they're happy for you to actually sit on the bikes, and pop yourself on the ones that appeal to you. Pop it off the side stand and just get a feel for the bike. Does it feel a comfortable riding position? Can you get your feet flat to the floor or nearly flat to the floor? Because that's going to make for a lot of confidence in low speed manoeuvring at first. And have regard for where you're going to store the bike. Is there going to be enough room? Is there access to where you're going to store the bike? Is that access wide enough? You won't be the first person to have bought a bike, ridden home from the showroom only to find that there's no room to store it or no room to get to the garage. So yeah, want to bear in mind that the size of the bike. Now, second thing that goes with size is weight. Now, I can tell you, heavier bikes get harder to manage in later life. Weight becomes very noticeable at low speeds and can catch you out. So check the specs of a bike and see what the wet weight or curbside weight is. Important, curbside or wet weight, that's the weight with all the liquids in, the oil, water if it's water cooled, and fuel. Again, heft it off its side stand and with both feet on the ground, move the bike from side to side between your legs to get a sense of the dead weight. And remember that fully fueled, it will likely feel heavier still. So make sure you're happy that that weight is manageable. And thirdly, in the category of the correct bike power, modern motorcycles of even modest engine size are much more powerful than they were 20 or 30 years ago. The most powerful bike in my garage is 66 brake horsepower, that's all, and the lowest powered 20 brake horsepower. Now guess which one I find the most rewarding to ride? Yes, without a doubt, it's the humble 20 brake horsepower Royal Enfield Classic 350. Most bikes of 60 brake horsepower plus are hardly ever going to be ridden to their full potential, and using 90% of a bike's power is much more fun than 50%, and it's a lot cheaper. So yeah, in conclusion, make sure that you are perfectly comfortable with what your proposed motorcycle purchase has to offer in terms of size, weight and power. Go for what's practical for you. And of course, if you can get a test ride, if you can get a ride on a demo bike, then by all means check with your dealership and try and arrange that. It's less straightforward with used bikes than it is with new bikes, but if you can get a test ride, get a test ride. Right then, so tip number 2 of 5, it's about the right clothing. Now, getting older means getting colder. Our days of shoehorning ourselves into tight leathers are pretty much over, thank God, and modern textiles are pretty much the way to go. So get the best you can afford. Don't skimp on clothing so you can throw more money at the bike. Even the best bikes will be miserable to ride if you're cold and wet. If you can stretch to it, laminate textiles are best, and a full set can be had for £500 to £600. For example, the Oxford Mondial range. Get the best helmet you can afford. In this market, you get what you pay for. For riding in cold weather, heated clothing is now much more affordable. Heated gloves are better than heated grips. Both together is best. Good boots and gloves will likely last your riding lifetime. Cheaper ones likely will not. Tip number 3. Take it easy at first. If you haven't ridden for a long time, then don't overstretch. Embarking on that European tour as your first venture out on your new steed is a fool's errand in later life. 50 to 100 mile local rides with comfort stops will allow you to build up your strength and endurance. Overdoing it early on will leave you feeling tired and sore, and unfairly blaming the bike and generally losing the passion before you've even got going. Take it easy. Tip number 4. Find the best riding routes, like this here cracking one. You'll see on this channel that I ride in some stunning local landscapes, and it's the best medicine you can get, even if it means going that extra few miles to find places which offer the most pleasurable environments in which to ride. Simon Weir's Best UK Riding Roads book is a good reference for this country, and there are sure to be equivalents in others. Finally, and most importantly, remember this: the benefits of motorcycling in terms of mental health and well-being far outweigh any perceived risks around danger, even when we do have slower reactions and more fragile bodies. Ride within your comfort zone and never succumb to pressure from others. All of life and living carries risk. It's about striking the right balance and living it to the full. So if you're tempted to start or get back into motorcycling and you're concerned that your age might be a reason not to, cast aside those doubts and just go for it. I did, and I don't know where I'd be now if I hadn't. I'll see thee.
you.